With Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness coming out this past weekend, here are my top 10 MCU movies. In 10th place is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And this past week, there's been quite a lot of debate about this movie. Some people have been really hot on it, other people thought it was quite underwhelming and disappointed. I fall into the category that I really enjoyed it. What worked for me is just being able to see more Doctor Strange, get to see more of the magical element of it as well. Also, I thought Wanda as the villain worked really well. She was able to show off her strength, as I feel like in previous Marvel movies, she hasn't been utilised as much as she could have been. Also, the horror element really works. Sam Raimi was directing, and he's known for his horror movies like Evil Dead. And the horror elements really work in this movie as well. The jump scares, from the music, from the dead bodies to the spirits. Also, I think the cameos worked really well. I didn't want to see too many cameos just for the sake of having them. We could have had one or two more, but the cameos that we saw, it worked really well. And the action scenes they were in, that was one of the best parts of the movie. However, a negative is I think they could have developed America Chavez's character a bit more. Have us understand her a bit more than just being able to travel through the multiverse. Also, another negative I've seen a lot is that the plot was too simplistic. And for me, that didn't really bother me too much. I thought on the most plot, the plot worked fine. In 9th place is Thor Ragnarok. And I thought after the first two movies, this was a great place or great direction to take the new Thor movie in. The vibe's different, the colour scheme's different, as the first two movies are quite dark and quite serious in their tone. This is more colourful and more playful. I thought this might be one of the funniest MCU movies, and the jokes work really well. Adding Hulk into it really works. They have great chemistry between them. Hela as a villain is really good as well, exposing Odin's past and also trying to take her throne as rightful queen of Asgard. 8th place is Spiderman Homecoming, and I think this might be the MCU movie that I rewatched the most, as it's a very rewatchable film. And it works as a nice introduction into the MCU Spider-Man, as we've seen the origin stories for Spider-Man so many times, not adding the Uncle Ben death, but having its own origin story. I think that works really well throughout the movie. The Vulture as the villain works really well, as it's not a high-level threat, it's just a guy using what happened in 2012 from the New York fight to provide for his family. And just that he would do anything for his family, and that dynamic really worked, as we come from having these big threats to having a lower level threat that's just really all he's trying to do is work for his family. In 7th place is Avengers Assemble, and personally for me this movie is great, as it's the first MCU movie I saw in the theatres. It brings all our characters we've seen from their individual movies and brings them together, works really well, even though the first half of the movie is quite slow in some parts. It's just the bringing of the team together, the team understanding each other, getting the chemistry. I think that's just really enjoyable to watch, and it's really fun. And the Battle of New York is a great showdown for the ending of the movie. 6th place is Captain America the Winter Soldier. This is the MCU movie that feels most like an action movie, and because of that, all the fight scenes are great, especially the elevator scene that's gone down as one of the most iconic scenes in the MCU. Also, having Hydra and Bucky as the villains work really well, as Bucky's someone that Steve has to take down, but obviously doesn't want to hurt and doesn't want to kill, and that works really well, as Steve is trying to get Bucky to remember who he is, with that, and also defeat him at the same time. Also, bringing in Sam as Falcon works really well, and unlike Rhodey, he doesn't feel as much of a sidekick as Rhodey does, and I think that works for the better. In 5th place is Captain America Civil War, also known as Avengers 2.5. And one thing that the movie done well was introducing the new characters introducing Spider-Man and Black Panther into the MCU, as it gave out us teasers for what's going to happen in their own movies, but it also gave us enough about them that they felt included in this movie. Also, the conflict between Captain America and Iron Man works really well, as they both believe they're right. They both believe they're doing the best thing for the Avengers and for the population. And both sides, you can take an argument for whatever side's right, Team Cap or Team Iron Man. And Zemo using them against each other just to kill each other, as he knows he's not strong enough to do it himself. I thought that was a really interesting idea of having a villain come in. 4th place is Spider-Man No Way Home. And what this showed me with Marvel going into Phase 4 is that they are able to use characters and use the multiverse really well. As the worst kept secret of having Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, and not having it feel like it was just an empty cameo, but having it actually have some consequences and some meaning behind it. However, the reason it's not higher is I have some issues with how Doctor Strange handles this situation. I feel like most of this could have been avoided if Doctor Strange just had the conversation with Peter before actually going in to do the spell. However, the new Doctor Strange movie does show that Doctor Strange can just do stuff impulsively and does do stuff without having too much thought behind it. Third place is Guardians of the Galaxy, and when this officially released, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know the characters. However, this just works on every aspect. The chemistry between them, an ensemble cast coming together as one, and they managed to fit them all to work well together. It's also a very funny movie. The music and the soundtrack behind the movie just works well with it to blend together. Well, James Gunn managed to make you care for the characters, having to make it have emotions as well, to the fact that when Groot dies at the end, you feel sorry for a tree dying, and the dance battle at the end is just great as well, and it just fits the tone of the movie. One issue I had, a little issue, just Ronan the Accuser. I felt like he could have been handled better as a villain, but overall this is a great movie. Second place is Avengers Endgame, and this is just the combination of everything Marvel's done for the last 10 years coming together, and was literally the most excited I've been for a movie. Managed to conclude the whole 10 years of this Marvel journey together really well. And seeing the journey of the characters 5 years from after Thanos' won, going back in time traveling, seeing characters like Tony Stark have that conversation with his dad, and also the last 2 hours from time traveling to the big final fight, and it just works really well together. As seeing Captain America live Mjolnir, to having Sam coming saying on his left, to all the fight scenes that happen, and then Tony Stark's death, it works all perfectly well together. And also having that nice conclusion of Captain America getting that dance with Peggy. However, why this isn't top is because I didn't think Thor Bowski worked at all. I got it at the start, showing how he was affected by everything that happened in Thor Ragnarok, everything that happened in Infinity War. But I think they went on a bit too long with that, and they should have turned him back into normal Thor a bit earlier than they did. First place is Avengers Infinity War, and what really works for me with this is that they made like Thanos the main character, and I wasn't expecting that. They had like a big backstory behind Thanos. We felt like we followed Thanos the most throughout it. And also when we saw our teams and when we saw the team split up, I thought they worked well. The groups that they were in, they worked well with Thor and Rocket. That worked really well. Having Iron Man and Doctor Strange with Spiderman, their egos clashing together worked really well, and also the group in Wakanda, just to all come together towards the end. And each character having that moment to fight Thanos as well. And also, with Thanos winning at the end, I think that was a great way to leave it as a cliffhanger, as Thanos completed his goal. He set out at the start of the movie with one Infinity Stone, ending up with all of them at the end, and his work was done, and he just went to rest, and I thought that was a brilliant way to end the movie. So those are my top 10 MCU movies, so let me know down in the comments what are yours.